Hi everybody, welcome to our Midweek Message. I just want to read some verses from 2 Kings 6 and just share very briefly a few thoughts from that. The context is that Elisha and his servant are surrounded by a great army of horses and chariots, but here we read of the protection of God. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots surrounded the city. "Oh my Lord, what shall we do?" the servant asked Elisha. "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, open his eyes that he may see." Then the Lord opened the eyes of the servant, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. There's one thing that people are crying out for today, and that's protection. Protection against this universal virus called coronavirus. And the reason is because it's a very contagious and a very deadly virus. And so in order to be protected, we have to constantly wash our hands, make sure we keep a certain distance from people when we're on the outside, or we have to, when we are going outdoors, to make sure it's only when it's absolutely necessary. The NHS workers who are on the front line need to wear protective gear from head to foot in treating and caring for those who have this virus in hospital. Protection is of the highest priority at this time. The Bible speaks a lot about the protection of God, and here in 2 Kings 6 is just one example of his unseen protection. The servant of Elisha wakes up and physically sees an army, a great army of horses and chariots surrounding him and Elisha, and indeed the city. And he panics. And the reason why he panics is because he does not see the unseen protection of the Lord by way of other horses and chariots, but these are horses and chariots of fire, and they were of a greater protection. He was unaware of God's unseen protection, which is why it caused him to be afraid. In his book Pilgrim's Progress, John Bunyan writes of how the character Christian came to a very narrow passageway on his journey to the celestial city. And as he entered this passage, he spied upon two lions. He was afraid, and he thought to himself that he should turn back, for he thought nothing but death was before him. But the porter at the lodge, whose name was Watchful, seeing that Christian made a halt as if he would turn back, cried out to him, saying, "Is thy strength so small? Fear not the lions, for they are chained, and are placed there as a trial of your faith. Keep in the midst of the path, and no harm shall come to you." And so Christian, trembling for fear of the lions, but taking good heed of the directions of the porter, heard them roar, but they did not bring him any harm. At this moment, this world is gripped with fear. This country is paralyzed with fear, and perhaps you are frozen with fear. We feel fear all around us. Every time we turn on the news, it fills us with fear. It's everywhere just as much as the virus is everywhere. We're surrounded with fear in the same way Elisha and his servant were surrounded by this fearful enemy of horses and chariots. We're overwhelmed with fear of either catching the disease or dying from this disease. To use a figure of speech, we can see the lions, but we cannot see the chains that hold the lions. So what's the answer? We need to remind ourselves as Christians again and again of that who is unseen is greater than that which is seen. But of course, you and I cannot see God. So how do we know he is with us at this time? How do we know he is protecting us? By way of the gift that God has given every single Christian without exception, the gift of faith to believe in his unseen protection. We have faith in the unseen presence and protection of God. We live by faith in a world with fear. We walk by faith that overcomes fear. Jesus himself said that we, his people, are more blessed than those who have seen him with the naked eye. He said these words to Thomas in John's Gospel, chapter 20, verse 29. Blessed, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. And those words of Jesus are spoken in the context of fear. For the disciples were on lockdown. They had hidden themselves in the room for fear of the Jews. Our prayer today as Christians should be, Lord, open my eye of faith, that I may believe you more than I do and trust you more than I do, so that my faith in you, the unseen God, is greater than my fear in the things I see around me. I think it was Max Lucado said recently on social media, feed your fears and you will starve your faith, but feed your faith and you will starve your fears. Feed your fears and you will starve your faith, but feed your faith and you will starve your fears. So have faith today and trust in our unseen yet present God who protects us. God bless.